So I go to poems when fullness of emotions expose the limits of words. Yes, poems use words, but words that are honest about their incompleteness. Which is why poems invite margins, spaces, silence, and metaphors and meter. In the ancient world, meter was not just music, but it was also mystery, otherwise known as incantation. Marriage poems had a specific meter. Prophetic speech had a specific meter. Now, poetry today, because we are feeling a lot. Grief, for sure, it's a goodbye. Joy around the good works of Diane, and to be with people who share our grief and joy. Shock, yes. Anger, can we be real? Hope, yes, but hope isn't always a nice feeling. Quite ambivalent, really. But mostly overwhelming grief, because it's a goodbye. So I thought I would be writing a poem about saying goodbyes, but goodbye poems, like love poems, are notoriously hard to write. To be sincere, but not sentimental, revelatory and familiar for such a bodily emotion, it's very hard. There are very few good poems on love and goodbyes, and really, the greatest poem of goodbye has already been written by the poet collective called Boys to Men. I'm not going to sing it for you guys. You're already hearing it in your head. You can't beat that poem. So I took another approach. So this poem is titled Matthew 25. Matthew 25, the invitation based on the great chapter that comes right after Matthew 24. And right before Matthew 20, well, you already know. Oh, people maligned it, saying it wasn't scriptural, a liberal socialist agenda not biblical, even when the freaking name is simply the gospel book and the chapter. Go figure. What about Matthew 28? That's the chapter that launched the church. Yes, the Great Commission. But the Great Commission doesn't give us permission to make omission of the previous 27 chapters. Go make disciples. But what does it mean to be a disciple? I don't know. Maybe the previous chapters hold some clues. Maybe Matthew 25 might help us see what disciples do. Not a fun chapter for sure, because you might find yourself the goat of the story, and we don't mean greatest of all time. Matthew 25, oh, she's here just trying to start something new. Start with a flash and a bang, forgetting it was a General Assembly mandate. To be exact, GA 2016 Referral 1103 says the always reliable Barry Creech retrieval system. ChatGPT got nothing on him. The referral reads, on choosing to be a church committed to the gospel of Matthew 25. Yes, a passive written phrase, but there it is, thus says GA. So we dive into it to better understand it. And we did what Presbyterians do best, what we believe will save the elect and the rest. We studied it and studied it and studied it. We studied the Jesus out of it. Even on my own, I turned it, flipped it, seared it, sauteed it, tried to tease out a taste of flavor never explained from the passage so I can prove myself a hermeneutic master chef. I analyzed it, overanalyzed it, side-analyzed it until mental paralysis set in, until the sheep and the goats were jumping fences in my dream, both trying to cut the line, fast-tracking to the promised land. Then our president, Pastor Prophet Diane, said, hold on, can't we just read the damn passage? Sorry for the four-letter word, but that is a literal quote from my interpretation of Diane's more pastoral words. This is just me kicking the boundaries because how much I can get away with in a live stream has always been my dream. Hello, live stream or recorded community. Now, Diane said, just read it and everything around it. And if you have questions, read it again. So we stopped reading about the readings, and just listened to Jesus. Then Jesus' words became clear like a friend speaking to you over a beer. The expert voices dimmed. The scholars and theologians who are invested in making it difficult and reliant on them brings them speaking fees. Then we realized you, Diane, weren't telling us Matthew 25 was all of the gospel. You were just saying, can we all just listen to Jesus? To Jesus because even with all the degrees and certificates and orthodoxy and well-meaning pronouncements, that at the end we might still not find Jesus because we've been looking at all the wrong places and faces. Parables are not there to confuse, but to clarify, to make concrete. Only throws off people who prefer the complexity to excuses complacency. Who is my neighbor is a question we ask to not love our neighbor. And there it is, Jesus telling us where to find him. He ain't playing some divine hide and seek. He says, not in thrones or chairs, real or positional, not in city halls and safe suburban neighbors, but on highway exits and under highway passes, and broken homes and broken hearts, the marginalized, the abandoned, the tired, the poor, the wretched refuse of the teeming shore, those orphaned by rockets, those hunted by rockets, those who can't sleep because of rockets. Jesus ain't walking through marble floors, but on blistered feet, no longer feeling the concrete. When we stopped pontificating and just listened, we heard Jesus saying, the church vitality is not in church budget or metastasizing congregations, but in a city shalomified. A little bit of Corey speak, if you please. That a church that embodies the gospel, and Diane, you love those E words, emerge, evolve, embody. That a church that embodies the gospel gets their hand dirty and bloody dismantling structural racism and scares the hell out of mammon as they eradicate poverty. These are not political values, but the pillars of God's kingdom, built one faith agnostic kind act at a time. People who will not be blinded by the categories that blind us to the neighbor's humanity. That a disciple is one who sees Jesus in others. Wait, no. Disciples don't even look for Jesus. They see the person, no matter the situation, stripped, sick, evicted, imprisoned, simply as a human person, a neighbor deserving of love. To see another human person as a human person is to see Jesus. That simple, clarifying truth. What you do to the least of these is what you do to me. The life lesson that starts from birth is learning how to say goodbye. My grandpa said before he said his goodbye. All things pass. Our lives, our churches, our fashion miscues, turtleneck sweaters, anyone? I deleted those pictures. Even the programs we create. Now, Matthew25 had a long tenure when you see it in the light of the viciously short program cycle in national offices, the average length being 3 months. To be more precise, 3.265. I went to 3 decimals just to make it right. In that scope, Matthew25 has lasted since the last ice age. But why do we talk about survival as if impact is measured by longevity when nothing is eternal except for McDonald's fries? You ever find one under your car seat years later, soggy but still golden? How? But I digress. Will we seek the next new shiny program and logo? We like next new shiny things. But the legacy of Diane isn't Matthew25, the program. By the way, I still have everything Matthew25. Stickers, decals, pens, pencils, card holder, phone holder, even the folders that held all the brochures. Those folders are very sturdy. Can't hold all the words of Jesus that John said would break the world. Not how Matthew25 folders. The legacy of Diane is manifold. But it is at least fundamentally this. Now when Presbyterians gather, our consciousness is so shaped that when we talk about church vitality, we cannot help but talk about dismantling structural racism and eradicating poverty. Because in Matthew 25, yes, Diane, as you said, Jesus made it so plain that now there is left to us only action. What you do to the least of these is what you do to me.